Hi, I'm Linda, a 21-year-old who had to grow up faster than most. My childhood wasn't easy, especially after we lost Dad. He was the backbone of our family, and without him, everything just fell apart. I had dreams like any other teenager, finishing high school, maybe even going to college. But reality hit hard and fast. Instead of preparing for prom, I found myself signing up for a technical diploma course in graphic design. It wasn't my first choice, but it was cheaper and quicker. "I can't believe you're giving up on high school," Jack sneered one afternoon as I laid out my textbooks. He was 2 years younger but had the audacity to judge my choices. "It's not about giving up, Jack. Someone has to pay the bills, and since Mom can't..." My voice trailed off, the weight of our situation settling on my shoulders like a concrete slab. "You could have tried harder, maybe gotten a scholarship or something," he muttered, turning back to his video games. The glow from the screen lit up his indifferent face. I sighed. "Not everyone gets a fairy tale, Jack. This is what we have, and I'm making the best of it." Our mother, a shadow of her former self since Dad passed, hardly ever left her room these days. When she did, it was to remind me of my duties. "You're the eldest, Linda. It's your responsibility to take care of us now," she'd say, ignoring the fact that at 21, I was barely an adult myself. "But Mom, I'm doing all I can. I work 2 jobs, I'm studying, and I'm trying to save a bit for us." I protest, feeling the burnout creeping up on me. Jack would just roll his eyes. "Why save when you can spend? You should loosen up, Linda. Buy something nice, live a little." I wanted to scream. Live a little with what time? With what money? Instead, I kept quiet. One evening, as I balanced our dwindling finances, trying to figure out how to stretch my latest paycheck, Jack burst in with news. "I passed my exams." "Barely, but yeah, I did it." "That's great, Jack." I managed a smile, genuinely relieved but dreading the inevitable. "Yeah, and now I want to go to college. You'll help with that, right? It's only fair since you didn't go." His words were casual, as if he were asking for something as simple as a ride to the mall. My heart sank. College, with what money? I thought about the little savings I'd scraped together, hidden away for emergencies or maybe, just maybe, a little something for myself. How could I deny him the opportunity, though? Wasn't it my job to sacrifice? As these thoughts swirled through my head, my mother's voice echoed from the doorway. "He deserves this chance, Linda. You'll make sure he gets it, won't you?" The pressure was immense, suffocating. I nodded, feeling the last of my teenage dreams slip away as I took on yet another burden. This was my life. Sacrifice stitched into the very fabric of my existence. As my tailoring business began to pick up, each stitch seemed to promise a better tomorrow. The clatter of my sewing machine was like music, heralding a new era of independence and maybe, just maybe, a bit of security. I'd taken to hiding my savings in a little tin box beneath a loose floorboard under the sewing machine. The only place I felt it was safe from being spent on another one of Jack's whims. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I lifted the floorboard to deposit another small victory, $50 scraped together from a rush order. But my heart stopped as my fingers felt nothing but empty space. The box was gone. Panic clawed at my chest as I searched frantically around the room, hoping I had merely moved it and forgotten. My search ended abruptly with the heavy steps of my mother entering the room, her face unusually flushed with excitement. "Linda, you won't believe it. Jack has found a wonderful girl. They're getting engaged next month." Engaged? The word felt foreign, distant, drowned out by the ringing in my ears. "Mom, where's the tin box that was here, under of that old thing?" She waved a dismissive hand, her eyes gleaming with a mix of guilt and justification. "I used it, Linda. It was for a good cause. You'll understand." "Use it for what, Mom?" My voice was sharp, the edges of fear and anger blurring. "For Jack's engagement ring, of course. Such a beautiful diamond. It symbolizes hope, a new beginning for our family." "A new beginning," I repeated, hollow. "With my savings? My future?" She took a step back, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Your duty is to this family, Linda. We needed that money. It's better spent on something that brings us all together." That was for me, for my future. How could you? The betrayal burned hotter than the anger, and tears welled up unbidden. "You're being selfish, Linda, always thinking about yourself. This family has given you everything." "Everything. The word escaped me as a bitter laugh. I've given everything, my time, my dreams, my money. What have you given me, Mom? Guilt? Obligations? Linda, you need to calm down. Think of your brother's happiness. My happiness matters too, Mom. Or doesn't that count for anything? She shook her head, disappointment etched into her features. I thought you were stronger than this, more giving. I guess I was wrong. That was the moment I knew I had to leave. The strings that tied me to this home, woven tight with duty and sacrifice, have frayed beyond repair. Mom, I can't do this anymore, I said, my voice steady, the decision clear. I'm leaving. I need to find a place where I'm valued, not just used. Her face crumbled, a mix of anger and desperation. You'll be back. You need us. No, Mom, I don't. With those final words, I packed my essentials. The sewing machine, my loyal companion, was the last thing I loaded into my car. As I drove away, the house shrinking in my rearview mirror, a weight lifted. I was free, heading toward a future I would shape on my terms, stitch by hard-earned stitch. The first night after leaving home was the hardest. I ended up at a small motel, the kind of place you hope never to stay in twice. As I unpacked my sewing machine and fabrics from my car, the weight of my decision settled around me like a heavy cloak. Was I brave or just foolish? Each uncertain thought was like a stitch out of place. But I pushed through, setting up my makeshift workspace on the rickety table by the window. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. I found a small studio apartment. It wasn't much, but it was mine alone. The space was cramped, barely enough for my bed and work area, but it represented something vital: freedom. Setting up my sewing machine, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Here, every piece I created was a testament to my independence. Business wasn't easy to come by at first. I spent days visiting local boutiques and coffee shops, my portfolio in hand, pitching my tailoring services. Rejection stung, yet with each no, I felt my resolve harden. Next time, I would tell myself, they'll say yes. And eventually, they did. A boutique owner admired the custom alterations I proposed for her shop's aesthetic and gave me my first big break. As my business began to grow, so did my confidence. I launched a small online store showcasing my designs and alterations. The first time an order notification pinged on my phone, I laughed out loud. It was a sound of pure joy. Orders started to trickle in, and my days were filled with measuring, cutting, and sewing, each piece a building block in the new life I was constructing. I started making new connections, both professionally and personally. At a local entrepreneur meetup, I met other small business owners who shared their journeys, and their stories fueled my own ambitions. I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. As the months rolled by, my tailoring business not only stabilized but began to flourish. Orders flowed in steadily, and I had even started taking on an apprentice to help with the workload. It was during one of those busy afternoons, the hum of the sewing machines filling the air, that my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't seen in months. Home. Hesitating only for a moment, I answered, the familiar voice of my mother crackling through. Hello, Linda. It's been a while. We miss you. The words, meant to tug at my heartstrings, now felt distant. Hi, Mom. What's going on? There was a pause, a shuffling of feet on the other end. Well, we're in a bit of a situation here. Jack's planning to buy a house, and he's come up a bit short. We thought maybe you could help. The request hung in the air, a well-worn tune. I took a deep breath, my hand tightening around the phone. Mom, I'm really focused on growing my business right now. I can't. But Linda is for your brother. For family, she pressed, her voice taking on that familiar pleading tone. I know, Mom, but my answer is still no. I have responsibilities here, to my business, to myself, I said, my voice firm, the product of many nights rehearsing this moment in my mind. There was silence, then a harsh laugh. Jack was right. You've changed, become selfish, since you left. The conversation ended soon after with a curt goodbye. I put down the phone, my heart racing. But this time, there was no guilt, only a sense of empowerment. Choosing myself was new, but it felt right. The attempts to draw me back didn't stop there. A few days later, Jack called. His tone was casual, as if we were discussing the weather. Hey, Linda. Just thought I'd give it a shot, about the money. It would really help me out. Jack, I'm glad you called, but I'm not able to lend money right now. I'm investing everything back into my business. I explained, hoping he'd understand without needing further justification. Yeah, figured as much. Mom said you'd say no. Guess family doesn't mean much anymore, huh? His words were designed to wound. It means a lot, Jack, but so does my future. I'm sure you can understand that. I replied, keeping the hurt out of my voice. We hung up with a promise to keep in touch, a promise I knew was as thin as the fabric scraps on my workshop floor. Over time, their calls became less frequent, and I focused on my work, on building connections that were supportive and uplifting. My business thrived, and with each success, the echoes of their pleas faded, replaced by the voices of customers praising my work, the laughter of my apprentice learning the trade, and my own thoughts planning for the future. I had learned that saying no could be just as powerful as saying yes, especially when it came to protecting my dreams and well-being. Each no was a stitch in the fabric of my new life, one that I was determined to tailor to my own design. The evening of the local Small Business Awards was a crisp autumn night, the kind where the air smelled of possibilities. My tailoring shop had been nominated for Small Business of the Year, a recognition I never imagined possible when I first set up my sewing machine in that cramped studio apartment. As I stepped into the banquet hall, a flutter of nervous excitement danced in my stomach. The room buzzed with the chatter of local entrepreneurs and community leaders, their faces glowing under the soft lights. My eyes scanned the crowd, not for familiar faces from my past, but for the new connections I had made, the people who had supported and believed in my vision. When they called my name as the winner, a wave of applause washed over me as I made my way to the podium. The weight of the trophy in my hands felt like a tangible validation of all the nights spent working late, all the decisions made in the solitude of my shop. Thank you, I began, my voice steady but emotional. This award isn't just about the quality of stitches we produce or the fabrics we transform. It's about resilience, about the belief in oneself, and the courage to pursue a dream despite the odds. After the ceremony, as I mingled among well-wishers and fellow entrepreneurs, the sense of pride and accomplishment was overwhelming. It wasn't just about the recognition. It was about having made it on my own terms, about not just surviving, but thriving. As I unlocked the door to my apartment, the quiet hum of my sewing machine greeting me, I felt a deep, resonant peace. I was exactly where I was meant to be, stitching my future with threads of courage and determination. And that was the ultimate victory. That brings us to the end of Linda's journey to independence and self-realization. How do you think you would have handled the situation if you were in Linda's shoes? Would you have made the same tough decisions to cut ties for your own well-being? Or would you have tried to mend the relationship despite the challenges? Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed Linda's story and subscribe to the channel for more tales.